Hello everyone, it's Marie from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be the start of an 8-part series. I know that now because I finished editing it, broken up into sane quantities. And we are going to be building, of course, the Allison Jr edition. So this little piece here. So in this very first episode, what you're going to see is basically how do you prep the things, what's in the box, a little bit of the assembly of the pieces themselves. So enjoy. Hello everyone, it's Marie from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel. So I've got a fun project for us to do today. Finally, are you ready? I think we're gonna play with this. This is the edition, and it fits the Allison Jr and a couple of the other ones as well. So I think we're going to start putting this together. So I've got the kit. There will be other stuff that I need, but the biggest thing you need is wood glue. I always use the Gorilla wood glue. I had to get a smaller bottle because mine, I think it got frozen. We had really ridiculous, crazy temperatures, and that particular glue is now all clumpy. So I don't know, I think it got frozen. But anyways, got my wood glue and the painter's tape. That's mostly what we're going to need. And so I think what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and take everything out of the box. I'm going to use a combination of overhead here and tripod type stuff, so you can get kind of a side view of what's going on. It kind of depends. I don't think I can fit this mess under this camera here like this, so we'll see. So I will be right back with this. I'm going to go ahead and take everything out of it so you can see what comes in the box. Okay. So I got everything out of the box, and the nice thing with the new camera setup is I can put it up higher, which is great. Get a bit more of a wide angle on there, so I didn't have to go from the side on this. I do still have some kind of shadows. I'll have to work on that. But anyway, so this is what comes in the box. Okay, this they shouldn't be allowed to put in there because I want all these things. All right, look at that. Look at that. It's massive. I know this one on their site's like 4 figures. So Pia, hell of a long time before I can get something like that. But yeah, it's like I just got this dollhouse thing, and now you're trying to make me want all the other dollhouses because it's working. That one's awesome too. But anyway, so you get a catalog, which I love, and then you have your instructions here, and then we have all the pieces. So one of the first things I do, one of the first things they recommend doing is measure and identify the parts. That's very important because you don't want to say, put your top floor on backwards, do you? I wonder who would do something silly like that. Moving on. So that's what we're going to do in this very front part here. It tells you what all of the pieces are, right? So usually I take a sticky note. We'll go to Sharpie because I don't know where my pencil is. And I'll write down what the things are. Clearly I can tell that, see how it shows the front here is the big piece with the windows and the side is the big piece without the windows. Yeah, got it. I don't think I need to mark these, right? I'll be okay. But some of these smaller ones I do want to mark because it's going to be hard to tell them apart. Windows are clearly windows. We don't need to mark those. But this is an example of where you do. So you have 2 floors here. You have a base floor and you have a mid floor, which is going to be between your first and second stories, right? And if you read on here, they're the same exact size because duh, right? But one is 1/4 inch scored, one's 3/8 inch scored. Very different thicknesses. In theory, I would figure that out, right? Who knows? Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. So these ones I will label. And I am going to probably fast forward through some bits of this just so it's not insanely long. But so base and mid, that should be good enough. When you get to the bigger dollhouse kits where you're doing a full-size house, you really do want to label all the things. It makes your life easier, but this, don't need it quite as much. So the 1/4 inch one is the base floor, and the mid floor is 3/8 inch. So this is clearly 2/8, 3/8. It's going to be wider. So the 1/4 is the base, which I wouldn't have guessed, right? You'd think the big thick one would be on the bottom, but nope. And then this is the mid floor. I'll just set these over here to the side and see what all this other stuff is. Okay, so we got the front, we got the side figured out. Easy peasy. Liner, there's 2 of them. They're both 10 by 1/8. And if you need to, let me see. Give me 1 second. All right, somehow I've managed to misplace my ruler. How do you lose your rulers? Yeah, you look to your right, idiot. Oh well, that's fine. This will work better. It's a quilting ruler, so it's giving me, you know, more than 12 inches anyway. So, so the 2 liners, these 2 pieces here, they're both 10 1/8. Okay, yep. And then one of them is going to be 9 by 10 1/8, one's 8 1/2. So here's your 8 1/2, and then here's your 9. Now these ones, they just called liner. Thanks, guys. It's not helpful at all. So what we'll do is we will call this, they also have a little part number. So I'm going to put J0503 for the one that's 9 inches. And I've already forgotten which one's which again. There we go. And then J0504 for this one, since they didn't feel like giving me any kind of a decent name for anything. Cool. Okay, so these are going to go over here. And then this is the top. I think we can figure that part out. It's 1/2 inch. Yeah. Okay, so that's the top. All right, and then we have this kind of stuff here. So we've got different things depending on which kit you're going to put it with. So let me hold this up so you can see it. I hope you can read that. So you have these, you have different ones to use if you're using the Allison versus if you're using the Farmhouse. So we're using the Allison Jr kit. So we want the ones that are 1/2 inch, 9 1/4 by 1 1/4. Okay. And so the ones for the Farmhouse are 9 1/8 and whatever, and 3/4. That's probably these guys. So let's take this and we will verify that we've got 1/2 inch. We've got 1 1/4. Yep. And then we have 9 1/8 here. And that's the same size. I should have 2 that are, yeah, these are just slightly, see, just slightly different there, lengths. Okay, so we're going to have the 2 longer ones, the 2 shorter ones. So these, since they go to the Farmhouse one, we can probably just set aside safely. And these ones, I'm going to write this on here too. I'm going to go ahead and split this. Okay, so we've got J0506, J0507. All right, so the one that's 9 1/4 and 9 1/8. So the longer one is going to be 506, and the shorter one will be 507. I'm going to set these way away from each other because I don't want to accidentally stack them together and get them all mixed up, because I will. Okay, so then we have these, which I won't be using. These are the world's ugliest flower boxes. Sorry guys, but they are. So I'm going to put these in the nope pile. It's over here. Okay. So we've got shutter pieces, which should be these. I don't like the shutters either, so we're just going to go ahead and put these to the side too. I buy the ones that they have at Hobby Lobby that go with it. I didn't buy them. I'm going to have to do that probably tomorrow, so I got them, but I will get them. I didn't have them when I put the other one together either. I got those after, but okay. So there's your flower box, window shutter business, trim and strips. Okay, so we're just going to leave this here for now because we're not going to need this until a decent way through the process, right? Once we need it, then we can take them out. And if you hear Cat in the background, he's found his toy, so yay. Anyway, he runs around. He thinks he's a dog. He runs around with the toy in his mouth and plays fetch. So, okay, then we have the strips. We've got 2 pieces of strip wood. I don't think we need to label this because there's only 2 things that look like this. And the same for the trim that's going to go on the top. So, all right, we've figured out what all of our pieces are, so we can put this stuff away for now and see what we're supposed to do first. So in looking at this, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to square the corners of the windows. And it says windows, doors, and stair holes. There are no doors or stair holes on here, so yay. We just have one piece that has them. And of course it's at the bottom. And it's this one here. So now if you look, you can see that they're just ever so slightly rounded. So your windows, when you make your window assemblies, are not going to go in there with them rounded. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can use like I wouldn't use maybe an X-Acto knife, maybe more of a utility knife, because this is going to break on you. But you can use that, or you can use one of these, right? Because this is nice and square. And so this is going to square those corners off real good. And it doesn't take much at all. Just a couple passes. Okay. So literally that's all it was to get this nice and square now. So I'm going to do that to the rest of the corners and I'll be right back. So that should have done it there. And so what I'll do is, because our next step is going to be doing the window assemblies, is once we have the window assemblies done and dry, then we'll dry fit them in there to make sure that it's square enough. What we don't want to do is get this like this and then paint it and then have to sand it again, because then you got to paint it again. So let's move on to the windows. Yeah. Okay, so the window stuff should be in here. And the bad part is they don't put a picture of it in here, right? Because you got pictures of like all the main stuff. You only have measurements, so that's where it becomes really important to pay attention to that part. Okay, so we know we're not going to need these round pieces. We're going to need this. These should be our windows right here. Everything with an angle on it. So we'll put the rest of this stuff back in here. I always lose these. Hate that. All right, so according to the instructions here, we should have 8 of the vertical frame moldings, 8 of the horizontal frames. So we will put these all like so they all look the same to make sure we have the right ones. I'm pretty sure, but it's still always good to check because you don't want to screw that up, right? Okay, so I have 8 of these, I have 8 of these. And so basically we're going to be making 4 windows because you're going to put one on the inside, one on the outside. Yeah, they're going to go together. Well, not like not like this. That would screw it up, but you know, similar. It's going to build with the short ones, right? You're going to put these together and then they'll kind of go between this and this, your inside and your outside one. It's going to leave that gap for your wall so it can hug your wall, right, on the inside. So it'll go over those. So that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to take a piece of cardboard. That's paper, boys and girls, paper. Hello. Okay. And I'm going to do like a toothpick or 2 out here. And I'm going to put my wood glue on this because I'm not going to need much at all for this. And we don't want to have a bunch of glue blobs everywhere. So if you look at the instructions here, it has you do it nice and square. and then it has you use a rubber band for it, which I don't do, A, because the time I tried to do it was such a farce that I did not do it again, and B, I don't have rubber bands that are that size right now, so that wouldn't work anyway. So we're going to group these to each of their 4 respective pieces. We have 1, 2, 3 blocks that can help us with our angle. And I've also got one of these. So this is a square ruler. So I can take these things and I can line this up like this, right? And it'll give me this nice straight edge. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take these pieces. I'm going to do that. Get them all nice and lined up pretty. And then once they're glued together like that, I can take the 1, 2, 3 blocks on these sides and kind of push them into that, right? So everything is staying nice and square. You don't have to leave it for a ton of time, but you do want to leave it for at least a few minutes so that the glue can grab. Once it's grabbed real good, we can kind of move it over to the side. And then we'll do something else at the end when all 4 put together to make sure they stay straight and kind of dry straight. All right, so start with this one because I've got everything over here for it. Some glue out here. Yes, this is way better than my other bottle. What the heck happened to it? All right, so I've got this. I've got my wood glue. You can use wood glue. You can use PVA glue. I like the Gorilla Wood glue because it's very strong. And this stuff doesn't, you know, they say not to use carpenter's glue or wood glue because it dries yellow. This stuff really doesn't. This stuff dries pretty clear. Thank God for that. But you just want a fairly thin layer on there. You want enough so it's got plenty on the surfaces, right? So it's going to grab everything. But you don't want a ton of it squishing out. So I'm going to put this here. And then I can go ahead and line this bottom one up and press these together. And then I'm going to put glue on top and bottom of this, because then all 4 surfaces where they're going to meet have glue on it versus putting it on, you know, both, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, because I usually don't. So, okay, we're going to take a little bit of that extra off of there. And then we are going to line this one up here. And we will line this up here because the glue is already on these, right? Okay, so get these nice and square. And I'm going to move these out of my way. And I'm going to take my 1, 2, 3 block for a little added pressure / insurance and put that there. And I'll take my rag. I always keep these. You can get these. They're like shop cloth type things. You find them in the paint department, like where the stain is. These are brilliant for so many things. Up to and including, this is what I use to stain with as well. Because then when I'm done, I can throw it away because I don't have paint thinner, mineral spirits, or whatever it is that you need to get stain off of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry for a minute, and then I will scoot it over and I will do the other 4. And then I'll be back to you. So I've got my last window here. I let it set up for a minute. I'm going to move these to the side because I did forget to tell you something fairly important. When you are done with this and you go to move it, don't pick it up. You just kind of want to scoot it, because sometimes the glue, you know, will be on the other side. It'll get onto your mat or your table or whatever you're doing, and it'll want to stick to it. If you go to pick it up, it's just going to. So always scoot it like that until you're at a part where you know there was no glue, right? So what we'll do with these is, if we want to keep them extra square, we can kind of stick them back here so they're all next to each other, so we know they're all square, you know, however you want to do it. I'm going to set them to the side because we got another step we want to do. Okay, so we got those parts done. So what's our next step? Well, our next step is making our foundation. So we'll grab these pieces. We had J0507 and J0506. This is for, again, the Allison Jr, whereas if it's the Farmhouse, it's going to be a different one. Okay, so they're telling us to do this like next to it during parts of it. No, I'm not reading it right. Ignore that. We'll do that after we glue them together, okay? So yeah, I love this. Okay, this is annoying because they've got the foundation and the da-da-da, but they don't tell you what the damn number was. So where were we here? So the 9 1/4 was 506. Okay, so we're gonna have the 9 1/8 at the top and the 9 1/4 in it. So these are 9 1/4, these are 9 1/8. Okay, so these are gonna be the top, these are gonna be the sides. Go ahead and pull our little sticky notes. They don't really do us any good. Sometimes, you know, doing the sticky notes, you really don't need to, but I really like doing it that way. Okay, so the key is they're going to be sitting like this. Okay, voila. And then kind of scoot this, and this is going to go under the base. So let's take the base out real quick. It doesn't matter what I do, it's going to be at the bottom of the pile, always, all the time. So irritating. Okay. I need more instructions. Okay, so they're going to have us put this together, and I want to put the base on here just to make sure that this is all making sense, right? Does it look like it's going to fit? There's going to be parts that stick out. Or do they go under? I don't know. It has to do with foundation. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this part together, and then we're going to take it out and put it next to the dollhouse and set the base on. We're not going to glue the base to it. We're going to set the base on it to make sure that we've got all the sticky outy bits where sticky outy bits should be or whatever. I think this is designed so that when you put it on there, it'll sit nice and flush, like here on this side. But then part of it here will go like kind of under the wall that's coming down for the Allison Jr, right? So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to glue these together. We're going to keep them as straight as we can too. So we're going to bring my ruler back out. This thing's darn handy, isn't it? Okay, so we can go ahead and sit this here since we know we're going to be putting these on it, right? And we're going to do the same sort of a thing. And we're going to put the wood glue. This you want to put a pretty good amount because this is the base structure for your whole addition, right? So we want to make sure it's going to stick real good. The same sort of thing. We'll only need to put glue on these two sides when it comes down to it. All right, so we've got this here. We've got this nice straight edge here to go against to make sure that this is nice and square. And then it's mandatory that you stick your finger in the glue on the other side because you forgot about it. And then we will do this side. And again, I'm just putting a nice, decent layer of glue. I'm not going overboard with it because then I'll have to remove it with the other toothpick. That's why I have a separate toothpick there. It's nice and clean and dry to catch all the extra glue. All right, so we'll sit this on here like so. And we'll put this on here like so. And we'll get these to line up nice and straight. Let's get this out of the way here. You can wipe off the glue from the outside. That's the easy part. Will you knock it out of square by wiping it off? Yep, but that's okay. You can push it back in. But it's better than having little weird glue drippies, you know? Nobody wants that. Okay, I'll do the same on the inside. The toothpick is going to go along, and if there's any glue really squishing out, this part is one of the few places it really kind of doesn't matter. You're not going to see it. It's not going to hurt anything. It's going to be under your floor. Okay, so we got that. So now we got a painter's tape. We want to tape these nice and square. So don't be stingy with your tape. Take a nice long piece. What I do is I put it on the bottom one. Oops, and I rub it in real good. Get these lined up nice and straight. Hold here, and then stretch that over there so it's holding it nice and tight. And And this is going to have a lot of tape on it because we want it to hold it really good. And the tape's, well, actually, no, the tape has gotten kind of expensive lately. I don't know what's up with that, but I'm sure they pretended it's pandemic related somehow, right? All right. Get that nice and tight. I'm going to hold both of these. I'm going to carefully rotate it so I can get to this side. And this is where you'll really see, you know, that it's nice and square and everything. And then you knock it out of square about 17 times throughout the process because that's just what it is and how it happens. And I got one more piece here. Bottom like this, and like this. Okay, now that I've got those parts, I want to make sure this stuff stays square too. So I'm going to kind of make a little corner business like that with it. I'm going to press it down really good to kind of catch that top and make sure it's staying nice and square. Again, on the trip out to the living room, this will probably come apart, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Let's go a little farther on that. There we go. We want to give it all the help we can to encourage it to stay nice and square. Because just like with anything, it's the most important part, the foundation of it. If this is out of alignment, everything will be out of alignment. If you need to put it under it, no big deal on this, because again, we're not going to stick the base to it just yet. You actually are going to build the full addition and stick the full addition onto this. Okay. Go, got square going on there. All right. That should do it. If you want to be extra careful, you can do the same on the bottom. That way we know everything's nice and flush and square and whatnot. And then just rub it down real good right there, because that's really where you want to keep it stuck, is on that joint. Don't take too much off of there. It could be ridiculous. It's probably going to be like nice and set up by the time I get done putting 4 rolls of glue on it, or tape, or whatever this is. All right, that should do it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out to the living room along with the base piece, and I'll come get you guys, and then we'll put it next to it and see what it's supposed to be doing, right? Because it's best to let this dry next to the addition as well, so that you know it's going to stay nice and flat and flush to it. So, see you guys in a second. So I brought you out here to the living room where the dollhouse lives, and I finally got all the furniture put back in. Yay! So what we need to do is we need to also decide at this point which side of the dollhouse do we want this to be on. So I was thinking it might be fun to make like a little kitchen in there, in which case it would probably be best to be on the side with the dining room here. If I want to, I could maybe, you know, move the painting or something, make a false door. We'll just let somebody's imagination fill that part in, because I'm not messing with that. But anyways, so what you do here is you take your addition here, and then they have you sit it next to it nice and flush with the base, the existing base of your dollhouse. And then you put the base on here to make sure everything's going to sit nice and flush. Does mine? Not really, because I made it, right? But you kind of sit it there and make sure all the angles are good and whatever. And you let it dry here. So what they have you do is they have you attach this and glue it to the base. I'm probably not going to do that just because moving this was enough of a stress inducer. I don't want to move it with something that's inherently weak on there. That way, if I go to move the dollhouse again, I can just pick this addition up and move it instead of attaching it to it. I don't think it really needs to be, because other than that, it's not going to go anywhere, right? So it doesn't, it's going to look the same whether it's glued to it or not. So we're going to go ahead and let this part here dry, and then we will go back in the room and do the next bit of stuff. Okay, so that is the end of the first episode of the Allison Jr edition build. So in the next one, we're going to be working on some of the fancier stuff, painting, wallpaper, stuff like that. So I will see you then. Beannachd. Bye.